Hello, and welcome to your yoga flow for flexibility. We'll begin today lying down on our mat. So come to lie down on your back. Draw your knees in towards your chest. Find a gentle rock side to side. Begin to extend your left leg long. Keep your right knee drawn in towards your chest. And then begin to extend your right leg up towards the sky. You're going to find a big hamstring stretch here, so you can grab hold of either your right thigh, your right knee, shin, ankle, or maybe even foot. So just find where is comfortable to grab today and begin to pull that right leg in towards your chest. Just enough until you can feel that stretch in your right hamstring. Don't force it too much. Another option is to lift your head up off of your mat and draw your knee towards your nose, maybe to even get a little bit deeper into your hamstring. We'll find 5 rounds of breath here. Breathing space into that right leg. If your head is lifted, begin to release back down to your mat. Keep that right leg lifted. Begin to bend into your right knee. Grab hold of your right big toe or your right ankle. We'll find a half happy baby here. So just drawing that right knee towards your armpit. Just finding some movement. Maybe you straighten through that leg and let it fall over to the right, only if that feels comfortable in your body. Find one more round of breath. Then when you're ready, release your ankle or your big toe and draw both knees in towards your chest. We'll find this on the other side. Begin to extend your right leg out long to rest down on your mat. Left knee stays drawn in towards your chest. And then we'll begin to extend that left leg up towards the sky, finding that big hamstring stretch. So finding whichever is comfortable to grab on this side. Maybe it's your left thigh, your left knee, your shin, your ankle, or maybe your foot. And then begin to draw that left leg in towards your chest until you can feel that stretch. And breathing here, option to lift that head up off of your mat, drawing your nose towards your knee again. Find 5 rounds of breath. If your head is lifted, begin to release your head back down to your mat and bend into your left leg, finding a half happy baby. So draw that left knee towards your armpit, grabbing hold of your big toe or your ankle. And breathing, finding any movements that feel good. Option to straighten through that left leg and let your left leg fall over to the left side. Feeling this through your left inner thigh. Find one more round of breath to begin to make your way back to center. Draw both knees in towards your chest. Find that gentle rock side to side. And then place your hands on the backs of your thighs and find a rock and roll about 3 times up and down the length of your mat. Finding some momentum, and then coming through to seated and make your way onto hands and knees tabletop pose. Stack your shoulders over your wrists, your hips over your knees, and just shimmy your hips side to side. Reset your spine. We'll find a few rounds of cat-cow. On an inhale, drop your belly, Lift your gaze, shine your heart forward, cow pose. Exhale, cat, dome through your back, gaze towards your belly button. Inhale, cow, belly drops. Exhale, cat, curl through your back. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat, dome through your back. Find breath to movement, feeling out through your spine. Find 2 more rounds with your breath. When you're ready, come to find stillness in your tabletop pose. Tuck your back toes under. Begin to lift your knees up off of your mat. Send your hips up, downward facing dog. Begin to pedal out through your feet, finding what feels good here. Keeping your knees as bent as needed. Option to come up high on your toes, and then let your heels fall down to your mat. Shake your head no, and then yes. When you're ready, find stillness in your downward facing dog. Lift your right leg high, 3-legged dog. Firmly press both palms down into your mat, and then begin to bend into your right knee. Stack your hips, open up your right hip flexor towards the sky. Option to draw circles with your right knee in one direction, and then begin to reverse your circle in the opposite direction. Straighten through your right leg, 3-legged dog. Take your gaze forward and then step your right foot between your hands, low lunge. Find this small rocking motion forward and back, waking up that left hip flexor. Drop your back knee down, untuck your toes, lift your torso up, kneeling crescent lunge. Make sure your right knee is stacked above your right ankle. Place your hands to rest down on your right thigh. And just breathe and see if you can melt your hips a little bit more down towards your mat. Keeping that alignment with your knee over ankle. And then begin to reach your arms up overhead. Lengthen your tailbone down to keep your spine long. Option to take your gaze up. Take an inhale. As you exhale, begin to straighten through your right leg. Half splits, bringing your fingertips down to your mat. Hinge forward slightly. As you reach the crown of your head towards your toes, find this big stretch through your right hamstring. Find 5 rounds of breath in this posture. Always know you can find a micro bend in that right knee if needed. Another option is to find airplane arms, so lifting both arms up off of your mat for a bit of a balance challenge and to get deeper into that hamstring. If your hands were lifted, bring your fingertips down to your mat and bend back into your front leg, low lunge. Step your right foot back into plank and then lift your hips up, downward facing dog. Lift your left leg high, 3-legged dog. Evenly distribute your weight between both palms and then begin to bend into your left leg. Stack your hips, scorpion dog. Open up that hip flexor towards the sky. Option 2, begin to draw circles with your knee in one direction. And then begin to draw circles with your knee in the other direction. Extend your left leg high, 3-legged dog. And then begin to shift forward, step your left foot between your hands, low lunge. Find that micro movement forward and back, waking up your right hip flexor. Drop your back knee down, untuck your toes as you lift your torso up, kneeling crescent lunge. Rest your hands down on your left thigh. Make sure left knee stays stacked over left ankle, and then maybe you melt your hips down more towards your mat. Energetically squeeze your inner thighs together to help with balance, and then begin to reach your arms up overhead. Big stretch. Begin to shift your hips back as you straighten through your left leg, half splits. Bring your fingertips down to your mat. Hinge forward slightly. Keep a micro bend in your left knee if needed. Reach the crown of your head towards your toes. Find 5 rounds of breath. If you found airplane arms on the other side, begin to lift your hands up off of your mat, sweeping them back towards the back of your space. Finding a bit of a balance challenge and getting a little bit deeper into that left hamstring. If your hands are lifted, begin to bring them back down to your mat. Bend into your front leg, low lunge. Step your left foot back into plank and then lift your hips up into downward facing dog. Take your gaze forward, then step your feet to meet your hands, forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway, find a flat back, bring your fingertips to your shins or thighs. Exhale, fold deeper. On an inhale, rise up to stand, reach your arms up overhead. Exhale, bring your hands through heart center. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, bring your hands through heart center, fold forward, forward fold. As you inhale, lift halfway, find a flat back. Exhale, palm the mat, step your feet back into plank pose. Lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. As you inhale, lift your right leg high, 3-legged dog. Exhale, step your foot between your hands, low lunge. Take a small step forward with your back foot so your heel is grounded down on your mat, and begin to straighten through your right leg. Pyramid pose, so bringing both of your fingertips down on your mat. Hinge forward. You can always find a small bend in that right knee as needed. Breathing here, try to draw that right hip back, left hip forward to keep your hips squared. Option to stay here, or if you'd like to find revolved pyramid, plant your left palm down on your mat as you reach your right arm up towards the sky, revolving your chest open towards the right. If you're in revolved pyramid, bring your hand back down to your mat, bend back into your front leg, low lunge. Ground your back heel down on your mat at about a 45-degree angle. And then as you inhale, reach your arms up overhead, lift your chest, come into warrior one. Keep that bend in your front leg, right knee over right ankle. Begin to sweep your hands behind you, interlacing your hands behind your back. As you inhale, begin to lift your chest, take your gaze up. Exhale, humble warrior, begin to hinge forward as you let your knuckles fall up and over, pointing the crown of your head down towards your mat. Try to draw your right shoulder inside of your right inner thigh. Beautiful job. Release the grasp on your hands, bring your palms down to your mat, and then walk your fingertips over towards the long edge of your mat, parallel your feet. Coming into wide-legged forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway, find length. Exhale, fold deeper. Just feeling out what feels good for you in this pose. Option to grab hold of your ankles or your big toes to pull your chest closer towards your center to get deeper into the stretch. Bring your fingertips to the earth. Inhale, lift halfway. As you exhale, begin to bend into your back knee. As you straighten through your right leg, find a side lunge. You can stay on your fingertips with your hips lifted if that's more comfortable, or begin to melt your hips down towards your mat, finding the full variation of this pose. Really try to keep those right toes flexed. You can bring your hands through heart center, or option to find a bind by reaching your hands behind your back to clasp your fingertips. If you have the bind, begin to release, bring your fingertips down to your mat, and then lift your hips back into your wide-legged forward fold. Then walk your hands back up to the front of your mat, low lunge, frame your foot. Then find low lunge twist, plant your left palm, reach your right arm up to the sky, take an inhale, exhale, make your way back into your low lunge. Nice job. Then step your foot back, come into downward facing dog, lift your hips up. Inhale, lift your left leg high, three-legged dog. Exhale, low lunge, step your foot between your hands. Take a small step forward with your back foot so that your back heel is grounded down on your mat. As you begin to straighten through your left leg, find pyramid pose. Bringing your hands down, hinge from your hips. Draw that left hip back, right hip forward to square your hips. Option to stay here, or if you'd like to find revolved pyramid pose on this side, plant your right palm as you reach your left arm up towards the sky. Revolve your chest open towards the left. If you are in revolved pyramid, bring your left palm back down to your mat. Bend back into your left leg. Ground your back heel down at about a 45-degree angle. As you inhale, warrior one, reach your arms up overhead, lift your chest. Keep that bend in your front knee, left knee over left ankle. And then begin to interlace your hands behind your back, draw your shoulders away from your ears. Inhale, take your gaze up, lift your chest. Exhale, humble warrior. Begin to hinge forward as you let your knuckles fall up and over. Try to draw that left shoulder inside of your left thigh. The crown of your head will point down towards your mat. Nice work. Begin to release your hands. Bring your fingertips down to your mat. Then walk your hands over to the long edge of your mat. Parallel your feet, coming into your wide-legged forward fold. Finding any movements that may be calling to you that you didn't find on the other side. Option to walk your hands over towards your right leg. Try to touch your nose towards your knee, finding a deeper hamstring stretch on your right leg. And then walk your hands through center and find that on your left side, try to touch your nose towards your left knee, breathing into that left hamstring. Come back through center, bring your palms down to your mat. As you inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, begin to bend into your back knee as you straighten through your left leg. Now you could stay up high on your fingertips with your hips lifted if that's more comfortable, or begin to melt your hips down towards your mat. Keeping that left leg as straight as possible, flex your left toes. You can bring your hands through heart center, or if you'd like to find a bind, reach your hands behind your back, clasping your fingertips. If you had the bind, release, bring your fingertips back down to your mat. Lift your hips back up as you crawl your fingertips back up to frame your left foot at the top of your space, low lunge. Then finding a low lunge twist by planting your right palm down on your mat. Reach your left arm up towards the sky. Inhale. Exhale, low lunge. Step your left foot back into plank and then lower all the way down to your belly. Hug your elbows in towards your ribs. When you arrive, untuck your toes, press the tops of your feet into your mat, and come into Sphinx pose. Find a number 11 shape with your forearms. lift your chest, finding this gentle back bend. Push your pubic bone into your mat to lift your chest. Staying with your breath, breathing here. Begin to push yourself back up into a tabletop pose. Then bring your big toes to touch and your knees out wide. Melt your hips back towards your heels, child's pose. Walk your hands out long in front of you and bring your forehead to rest down on your mat. Push your palms into the mat and lift yourself back up into tabletop. And then tuck your back toes under, send your hips up into downward facing dog. Lift your right leg high, three-legged dog. Inhale. Exhale, half pigeon. Place your right knee behind your right wrist. Extend your left leg out long behind you. Coming up high on your fingertips at first, chest lifted. And then option 2, rest your forearms down on your mat for sleeping pigeon. Forehead comes down. Find 5 deep rounds of breaths, breathing space into that right outer hip. Push your palms into the mat, lift your chest, tuck your back toes under, lift your right leg back up into three-legged dog. Then come back to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left leg high, three-legged dog. Exhale, half pigeon. Place your left knee behind your left wrist, right leg extends out long behind you. Come up high on your fingertips at first, chest lifted. Option 2, find sleeping pigeon, bringing your forearms to rest on your mat, forehead down. Take 5 deep rounds of breath on this side, breathing into that left outer hip. Push your palms into your mat, lift your chest, tuck your back toes under, send your left leg back up into three-legged dog. Make your way into downward facing dog and then drop down onto your knees and make your way onto your back. So coming to lie down on your mat. When you arrive, draw your knees in towards your chest, give yourself a squeeze. Tee out your arms, inhale. Exhale, let your knees fall over to the left, finding a spinal twist. Take your gaze over to the right. Make your way back to center, draw both knees into your chest, then tee out your arms. Take a big breath in. Exhale, find that spinal twist to the right. Take your gaze to the left. Make your way back to center. Draw both knees in towards your chest. Give yourself the tightest squeeze yet. And then place your hands on the backs of your thighs and find a rock and roll up and down the length of your mat. Coming up to a comfortable seat, placing one foot in front of the other. Sealing off our practice together today. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me and allowing me to guide you. I hope to see you again soon. Have a lovely rest of your day. Namaste. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and comment down below if you have any requests for future practices with me. Thank you so much, yogis. See you again soon.